Good morning. I'm Dr. Joyce Heames, and I am the proud Dean of the Jones College of Business here at Middle Tennessee State University. Welcome to the keynote event of the Tom and Martha Boyd Ethical Leadership Week. Now, so that everyone knows, this event is being recorded, so we ask that all cell phones be put off on silent. Let me make sure that mine is, as a gesture here. Except for, and it is. All right. It's because we want to make sure that we capture every moment of this, and I encourage you and I challenge you just to embrace the next hour as we invite some wonderful people to come and speak, and we just celebrate what we feel like is a wonderful thing at MTSU and in the Jones College for our Ethical Week. Tom and Martha Boyd, who are with us today, thank you so much, established the Ethical Leadership Week Fund to invite local, national, or international business leaders and executives to speak about the role that ethics and values have played in their lives, and how ethical leadership has allowed them to be successful in leading their companies or organizations. A high priority is placed on inviting those who exhibit a high level of integrity in their leadership style, and explicitly emphasizes ethics and integrity in leading their organization. Today, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Stephen B. Smith. Now, I was impressed with this man. I met him when I first arrived several months ago, but after I read this bio, I'm even more impressed, and I think you're in for a treat. Stephen was truly molded by his time at MTSU and has sustained lifelong commitment and relationship to the university. Stephen came to MTSU in 1973 as an inspiring walk-on baseball player, and I love this part, self-proclaimed reluctant student. He met the mentor of his life, former baseball coach and athletic director John Stanford. He was enjoying an excellent career and aspiring to take the next step into professional baseball until, like many things, and life happens, until July the 7th, 1976, his life was suspended and nearly taken in a horrific car wreck, which left him with a dislocated broken hip and a compound fracture of his right wrist. And as a baseball player, that's devastating. Stephen spent 6 weeks in traction at St. Thomas Hospital learning how to walk again and lost significant weight. But slowly and surely, he recovered and returned to pitch. And not only to pitch, but to pitch the winning game of the Western Division Conference Championship barely 8 months after his horrific accident, earning him a spot in both the Blue Raider Athletic Hall of Fame and the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. His dedication to our school has been consistent, generous, and inspirational. His support of our school mirrors his baseball recovery, intense, passionate, and consistent. But he had a job left unfinished, and this really spoke to my heart. Steve completed his athletic eligibility, but did not graduate MTSU in the 70s. So starting in 2010, in his late 50s, Smith went back to school, mixing online learning and on-campus classes, and graduated and walked across the commencement stage in December of 2011. I spent many days and many nights in classes, advanced ages as well, trying to complete, so I'm so inspired by that. In between his MTSU sojourns, Steve embarked on a 50-year career in building and developing several thousand homes in Middle Tennessee, and is currently the chairman of Middle Tennessee's oldest family-owned home builder and developer. His civic duties have included serving on the National Planning Commission, the National Parks and Rec Board, the Regional Transit Authority, the Williamson County Sports Authority, and appointed by President George W. Bush to the Federal Home Loan Bank of Cincinnati. He has done many works across in terms of the political arena and has served on many committees and is currently the finance chairman of both the Marsha Blackburn and Bill Hagerty campaign. Steve and his family spearheaded the drive to light the baseball field before any other university in Tennessee. Now stop and think about that for a moment. before any other university in Tennessee, and to build a new baseball clubhouse, now named in his honor. Only a few years back, Steve chaired the $5 million fundraising drive and made the lead gift to build our new baseball stadium, named in his father's honor. He also received the Trustees Board of Regents Chancellor Citation for Excellence in Philanthropy in 2008, was awarded the Jennings Jones Champion of Free Enterprise Award from the MTSU College of Business in 2010, and was the 2013-2014 recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Award for service to the university. When Governor Haslam pushed to devolve the governance of MTSU to a local level, Steve was an obvious choice for the board, and his fellow trustees elected him to serve as MTSU's first ever chairman. Now, as I understand it, rumor has it, our signs out here say it, today is also his birthday. So we sincerely wish you a happy birthday, Steve, and thank you for coming on this special day to be with us. Hopefully you got a cookie in his honor as you were coming in. Please join me in welcoming MTSU's Chairman of the Board Trustees, Stephen Smith.
Those words would be pleasing to my mother's ear, I'm sure. And I'm also sure my assistant probably wrote those. But it's a great honor to be here this morning. Thanks, Dean. And to be associated with Tom and Martha Boyd is a treat of a lifetime. So I want to thank you for that. Now, let's see. Young man, do you have a stopwatch? Yeah, it'd be okay. At the end of 16 minutes and 44 seconds, I want you to stand up. Because if I'm not through, I'll be rambling on. Today is my birthday. Like I say, it's 70. I need to start off with one that's kind of off the record, but then we'll get serious. But 70 years ago, tonight or last night, my dad was playing in a semi-pro basketball game. He was a ringer that an industrial league team from out of town had hired to play. That's 70 years ago, and at halftime, my mother sent word to the dressing room, hey, I need to go to the hospital. I mean, she was pregnant with me. And he said, I don't get paid after the game. We're winning. So they won the game. And like I say, they sent word back, you just need to hold on. So after the game, she was waiting there at the door, and he came out, and one of his new pals said, hey, let's stop and get a hamburger. He said, that'd be fun. And she said, well, would you mind dropping me by the hospital first? And so she broke her water going to, so I was born on a basketball court. I need to thank Diana Rust. I don't think she's here, but without Diana and Dr. Rust and Chris Massaro, I wouldn't have gotten my degree. I thought it was important. I called them and called Chris and said, I want to be treated like a junior college player. Tell me what I need to do. And I don't need to be told how poor my grades were. Just tell me what I need to do to get a degree. So I was nearly 60, hoping that there might be somebody in here or in that time, one of our athletes who would think, if it's important for Ms. Smith to get his, it's important to get it. So if we don't, we've just exploited our athletes. I'm humbled to be here. Forgive me for signage drainage. But Maddie Lou Duke was my speech teacher at BGA, and she said, never apologize for your speech. I'm here to share a few thoughts on success. In my life, I've enjoyed some success as well as many setbacks, but I've been blessed to have witnessed and studied men and women of enormous success and accomplishment. While their achievements are widely diverse, there is still a few fundamental traits. If you can pick up one of them, it'll be good. Before we get too far, I'm one of you. I'm a Blue Raider. I'm first generation college complete. My mother's father was a butcher. My father's father, a Nashville Fire Department. And my dad was a fireman and sold Butterfingers and Babe Ruths for 10 years. It's a long time, especially in that age. Before his hard work and optimism catapulted him to financial success. And it took me longer from enrolling to graduate than anyone sitting here, almost 40 years. MTSU has permanently shaped my life. This is Ethics Week, I'm aware of that. And I'm grateful for Tom he shows it. I'll share my best piece of life and ethical advice that's helped me more than any other one thing in my life, and that's play by the golden rule. That's so simple. But treat others how you'd like to be treated. It's amazingly simple, and great people take complex problems and make them simple. And it's really down to that. I don't care if you're a Muslim, Christian, or what you are, you'll have a happier life if you treat people by the golden rule. It's incredibly difficult sometimes. But in all my experience and observation, my harsh lessons have shown me that this simple rule will help you in every aspect of life: personal relationship, financial, business accomplishments, whatever your situation or circumstances. If you play by that, you'll be successful. On that note, I'd like to share my study of lives of three men of common ingredients for success. One, choose to be happy. Practice the unbelievable power of positive thinking. I'll add this: the nicest compliment my mother ever gave me was I could write the book on positive thinking. Henry Ford said, if you think you can or can't, you're right. In other words, it's up to you. If you think you can, you will. If not, you won't. Hard to believe. That's that simple. Back to being happy and optimistic. Find something good in every person and every day. Compliment a friend. Be thankful and happy that your sacrifices and perseverance will provide opportunities for people you'll never know. Choosing optimism over cynicism is tough, everyday task, and is not fashionable. But wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and know you're going to make a sale. Because every time you meet somebody, you make a sale. It's either good or bad. But you make one every time you meet. Believe what you're doing will make tomorrow better. And it will. There are many obstacles to staying optimistic. Too many to list, but I'd like to tackle two widely accepted harbingers of pessimism and false popular of doom and gloom. First, that America is more divided than ever. This is false and should be obvious to anyone with a sophomoric knowledge of American history. Our founding fathers, Adams and Jefferson, for instance, quarreled and called each other and accused each other of every crime and vice under the sun. Burr, as made famous with the play lately, but Vice President Burr, not just Burr, Vice President Burr killed Treasury Secretary Hamilton. Andrew Jackson killed a man in a duel. He got shot on the grounds of the Capitol. Andrew Jackson did. So less than 5 miles from here, 23,000 Americans died fighting each other in the Civil War. That was December of 1862. I just read a little on that, and right after Christmas, snow and cold, and I'm told in getting ready for the battle, the nights before Christmas, the Union and the Confederate soldiers sang Christmas carols together, and then they killed each other. Great Depression almost ended free enterprise system. Pearl Harbor sneak attack, decimated half the American fleet, and in one day, and the West Coast braced for a full-scale invasion. In my lifetime, long time, Vietnam, political assassinations, fight for civil rights, all came together to make us believe we tear each other apart. Today's problems pale in comparison to those. Well, 23,000. Imagine killing each other. What makes our country great is the difference of opinions and the peaceful resolution of those differences. And almost the time you've been enrolled, I was enrolled 4 years, so that's a lot, but in almost the time you've been enrolled, we've had two presidents completely opposite, both politically and culturally. I think it's solid proof that any one of you can be president of the United States. A self-made man from the left, a wealthy man from the right, all in less time than it took for you to get a degree, if you get one, I hope you will, and not one shot fired. Celebrate and enjoy our diversity. Another quick story on pessimism. This is a friend that I met through a common bond that I'll reveal later. But William Hanna was founder of Hanna-Barbera, the famous cartoon studio. So I need a quick show of hands. Who knows about the Flintstones? Okay, Tom, some of them do. Tom warned me about this, said, they may not have heard of it. I'm dating myself, but Hanna-Barbera has the Jetsons, Scooby-Doo, Yogi Berra, Tom and Jerry, and the Flintstones. Very early in their career, they sold cartoons to Warner Brothers to be played before and after feature films. But with the advent of TV, I got another TV story coming, but with the advent of TV, Warner Brothers called them in and fired them, dropped them. They said, boys, this won't play on that little screen. It's for the big screen. So they had a contract. Dave Hanna's had enough sense to get his copyrights and stuff together. And after the Warners told him to pack up shop and leave, he did. And within 10 years, he successfully built an empire. Still the only studio for 4 different cartoons to play in prime time. Now that may not mean something to your younger ones. There was 3 TV stations. It didn't like today. There's a cartoon on every minute, every day. But in that day, from 7 to 9 o'clock was prime time, and there was only 3 shots at it. And it's still the only one. But his optimism and belief propelled him into massive success when all the smart and rich industry leaders foresaw doom and gloom. The second untruth, and you got to fight these, the second untruth is that the world is falling apart. Easy to believe when you watch the news. It's not true. It's getting better by almost every measure. In the last 30 years in America, the poverty rate's fallen from 11 to 3%. The homicide rate's fallen. We're spewing less pollution into the environment. Globally, in the last 30 years, we've seen the number of living democracies, people living in democracy, double from 2 billion to 4 billion. There were 46 oil spills in 1988, 5 in 2016, none lately. 30 years ago, a third of the world population lived in extreme poverty, barely able to feed themselves. And now that number is in single digits. And this is just 30 years. Date myself again, Tom, but polio, smallpox, diphtheria raged the world and killed millions, and now they're a small section in your history textbook. Life expectancy's nearly doubled. Don't be tricked into being a pessimist. It's a cancer. Don't be tricked into that. Perseverance may be the number one trait of getting something done or being successful. Now, success is like beauty. It's in the eye of the beholder. You know it when you see it. A little bit like pornography, maybe. You know it when you see it. But success is in the beauty, is in the eye of the beholder. But in business, friendship, hobby, sports, and all other goals, perseverance is key. Do it now was a small sign on the desk of a man I looked up to. Now. Put off nothing can be finished now. Tell your friends and family you love them now. Take that job offer. It's easier to get a job when you have a job. Don't overthink what's coming down the road. It'll come soon enough. I can see that in the mirror. Grasp, claw, grab, bite, whatever's in front of you now. Expect to be handed nothing. You have to grab it. And you're the master of your own obituary. Upon returning from the Korean War, unemployed, completely broke, Mr. Jim Haslam faced a choice. He needed a job, and his old college football coach, General Bob Neyland, Haslam was All-American Guard in the 1950 UT National Championship, was able to get him 3 interviews. First was for a high school coaching position. General Neyland wanted him to be a coach. You can understand that. He interviewed and was offered the job in May. His mentors and former coaches encouraged him to take it, but he was broke, and the position didn't start until September, when the school year. He asked him for some time to think about it. He got home and told his wife. She said, "Did you get a job?" He said, I did, but we can't wait to September. It's May. I don't have any money. His second interview, and this is a really fun one. It relates back to Flintstones. His second interview was a local TV station selling advertising space. He interviewed and was offered a job. But at the time, he didn't believe in the future and the longevity of television. Maybe the most astute businessman in the history of Tennessee. I'll come back to that. His third interview was with a man that owned 3 service stations, gas stations, and was looking to expand to 5. This job started immediately, and he took it and ran with it and never looked back. He built those small local service stations to the largest seller of diesel fuel in the world, Pilot Oil. Well, I certainly think he made the right decision. That's not the point. The point is he made a decision, he persevered. Mr. Haslam was hilariously wrong about staying power of television. And I've gone to ask him for advice many times, and he laughs about that every time. All my advice may not be good, but I have no doubt he'd have been a football Hall of Fame coach had he been a coach. He accepted his first. He made the right choice for himself, family, and moment. He dug in, acted, he persevered, never stopped. And the rest of the story. Well, decades later, at the pinnacle of his business career, as CEO and chairman of a multi-billion-dollar largest seller of diesel fuel in the world, he experienced what I can only imagine would be humbling, horrifying, terrifying experience. His company was raided by the FBI and resulting onslaught of negative press, whispers, and accusations. Denise and I were duck hunting a few weeks later in Arkansas, and we were coming home on a cold, snowy day on Sunday in January, days after the raid. I stopped in a pilot superstation in Jackson, and you guessed it, there was Mr. Haslam, chatting with employees, ensuring everything was running smoothly, making his presence known. 80-year-old CEO, multi-billionaire. He chose diligence. He chose to be hands-on, to be working, to build back his brand. He knew he had to, because that was his shtick. He had to. Ask yourself, when you want to be a billionaire or elite successful, ask yourself, you're going to get up on the weekend, outwork an 80-year-old man that owns an NFL team and a hockey team? No, probably not. Success is not an accident. It's not luck. I worry, and my strength and weakness is I worry about everything. That we might think luck controls our lives. The lucky breaks are the only way to success. This is untrue and dangerous. Such luck plays a part, but I know your success is directly proportional to how much sweat's running off your nose. This is true in every endeavor. Edison reminds us, Thomas Edison, opportunity is missed by most because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work. The discipline needed to finish your degree is a great step towards the attitudes required to win. So another one, and that is expect to win. If you paid the big price, it's not arrogant to expect to win. If you've outworked your competition, and my dad told us over and over, you might outsmart the next guy now and then, but the only way you're going to win is to outwork them. That's not bad news, that's good news. Every great person I have personally known, deep down, love the grind of self-discipline. Complain about it, but love it. And in a time you'll look for opportunities to challenge yourself and enjoy that grind. You'll enjoy making yourself do something on a day that you don't want to do when you don't want to do it. They're obsessed. Elite are obsessed. They think about their goals, their businesses, their institutions daily, hourly, all the time, not because they have to or instructed to, because they have to. They must. This obsession does come with trade-offs. It's difficult to have a family, relationships, and hobbies. The work-life balance may not be worth. Howard Wall would say, the juice may not be worth the squeeze. But I simply have observed elite success, never observed it without someone who loved the work and the grind and the discipline. In closing, how close am I? You didn't stand up. Or did you stand up? Well, you give me a few more? Okay. Well, I'm a peddler, so that's good. In closing, give something back. Be something part of bigger than self. Join a campaign. Volunteer for the Red Cross. Teach a Sunday school class. Adopt a friend from the Boys or Girls Club. Or maybe just bend over and pick up a piece of trash on the sidewalk. Listen to this now. You're already part of something greater. In 2024, that's this year, Middle Tennessee, I'm talking about our geographic area, stands as one of the nation's and world's great booming success stories. Thanks in no small part that the last several of our governors have been business people. But they've raised their hand and they've gotten involved and they've helped lead our state to becoming a hotbed of innovation, relocation, tourism, wealth, and industry. You've actually already hit an enormous stroke of luck just being right here. Out of almost 8 billion people in 195 counties, you're currently sitting in one of the fastest growing wealth-creating areas in the history of the world. There's no way to believe that, but it just is. This sounds insane, but it's true. Get involved. Never know where it'll take you. Last story, and this ties, many of the great men I've known, I've met because I volunteered with them. One of my first major forays into politics and fundraising was for an obscure Tennessee heart surgeon who not only wasn't an active political player, but hadn't even bothered to vote in the last few decades. But it was obvious he was running for the right reason, to help people and to make a difference. And when he said that as a doctor he could help one person at a time, but as a senator he could help thousands, Denise and I believed that. And in 1994, Bill Frist surprised all the political hacks and commentators and was elected to the Senate, beating longtime incumbent Jim Sasser. Shortly after his second term, the current Senate Majority Leader at that time made a big mistake and needed to be replaced. Frist had just retaken the Senate, because he was the head of the National Republican Senate Committee. We raised $180 million that year, Tom. So he had just retaken the Senate for the first time in American history that a two-year-in president retakes the Senate. So he was a viable option to be the new leader. President Bush called Frist and said, "Bill, this is George. I'd like for you to take a job." Senator Frist demurred. Said, "I want to write the health care bill. I don't want to be majority leader. I'm only going to be here 12 years. But this is how the world works." So the next day he called and said, "Senator, this is President Bush. I'm calling a press conference. You're going to be majority leader." He said, "Yes, sir." So at that time, AIDS was ravaging Africa, threatening a world with over 10 million deaths, 26 million active cases, and no end in sight. Most public health officials believed an entire generation of Africans would be lost. Then Leader Frist was asked by President Bush to come to the White House. And President Bush said, "You did me a big favor. What is it I can do for you?" And Bill Frist said, "There's a little bug called AIDS. We didn't even know it existed when I was in med school. But we have the resources to change the world. And that's what we need to do." So a few weeks later, no discussion in between. A few weeks later, in the State of the Union address, President Bush laid out PEPFAR, which passed with overwhelming bipartisan support. PEPFAR is still going. They saved 25 million lives. And the men I talked about earlier feel some ownership there because Senator Frist wouldn't have been there if we hadn't all volunteered. Both death and infection rates of AIDS are less than 20 years. Get involved. I hope you all heard President Kennedy's quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." You can substitute school or church, profession. You live in the greatest time in history to make a difference. You live in the infancy of the greatest experiment in freedom mankind has ever known. You're armed with knowledge, confidence. I expect you to win and do great things for yourself, your country, and your school. Thanks for giving me your time, and God bless America. Too long? Was that too long?
It was worth every moment of it.
So how long was it? You stopped, that's good.
Let's give him another round of applause. And thank you so much. Thank you, Chairman Smith, for your inspiring words, and I hope that you'll stay up here with me. We have an addition to the Tom and Martha Boyd Award Week that I'm just delighted to share with you. We have the recognition of an individual who exemplifies ethical leadership. The Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award was named in honor of Dr. Jill Austin, Professor of Management, who, while serving a decades-long tenure as chair of the Management Department, guided the program's growth and developed the first MTSU Business Ethics course in 1989. She incorporated service learning projects into the curriculum where students could learn the value of volunteerism, you just heard those words, and service to the community. Dr. Austin is an expert in the field with dozens of journal publications and presentations on business ethics, but just as importantly, she practiced what she preaches with extensive public service, volunteerism, and leadership of nonprofit organizations. Would Dr. Jill Austin just stand, please, and let us recognize her, please. My only heartache is that she stepped down as chair just as I arrived, but she found a wonderful successor in Dr. Raffio. So I'm delighted to be able to work with both of them. Well, Dr. Leanne Clark and her business ethics students have worked together to select the first Jill Austin Ethical Leader Award. We welcome nominees Danielle Swartz and Quinshawn Nelson, who are with us today. Would you please stand? Are they with us today? Here we go. Please stand. But here's a video from Dr. Clark's class to tell you more about the selection process and the award recipient.
30 years ago, Dr. Austin had the foresight to know that critical thinking and ethical decision-making were important skills for our students to have. The Ethical Leadership course is one of the foundation courses in our degree. Very pleased to be turning the presentation over to my class as they will share the process that they went through and announce the first Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award recipient.
In the Jones College of Business Ethical Leadership class, we were challenged to interview someone we view as an ethical leader to learn about their decision-making process. For this project, a leader was a person who had influence over others to achieve a goal. They could be at various levels of an organization. What was important was how they led rather than their position or title.
Some of us interviewed current bosses, current mentors. Some of us interviewed a family member or a friend, taking this opportunity to interview them not as the person they know, but rather as someone who leads their company.
We ask them how they make tough decisions, how they balance the interests of different people. We also ask them how their personal values impacted their decision making and whether being ethical was important.
We thought about what they told us and then analyzed what they said through the lens of the Jones College of Business ethical decision-making criteria. Ethical leaders make decisions with empathy, meaning they consider how the decisions will impact others.
Ethical leaders make decisions with truth and integrity. They are honest, fair, and show respect. They also make decisions that help more than they harm others. They want to be sure the decision is addressing the real need of the problem.
We also consider whether the leader's actions considered the individual rights of others while addressing the needs of the organization.
Ethical leaders also make decisions that are in compliance with company policies, codes of conduct, societal norms, and laws. Now, when following those codes of conduct and laws, there is opportunity for them to hurt the people that they're leading, and ethical leaders find another way.
Ethical leaders also consider the impact of their decisions on a variety of stakeholders, employees, community, customers, suppliers, and shareholders. They make decisions that consider many factors beyond the bottom line.
Each student prepared a nomination essay and video to share with the class what they learned from the leader and why they believe the leader should be highlighted as an ethical leader receiving the first Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award.
Without our professor's input or presence, we as a class discussed each nominated leader to identify one to receive this award. We had a hard time selecting just one leader to recognize, as each person's leader demonstrated ethical decision-making. But after a long discussion, we reached a decision.
Our class has selected Javier Elizalde Cuervo to receive Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award. We would like to tell you more about Mr. Elizalde Cuervo.
I nominated Javier Elizalde as an ethical leader because I have personally been able to see it in his life. I've been able to just really experience it myself and see how other people have been impacted through his leadership. That is done in just such an ethical way that has just really impacted me. He is really passionate and hardworking and selfless, and he makes sure that he always does things the correct way, that's in compliance with all the policies, but he does it with so much empathy and with so much respect to other people that I feel like it really touches everyone's hearts because they feel seen, they feel respected, they feel like what they're doing is really contributing to something bigger, and it inspires his team and inspires his family, his friends to just want to work hard and want to do things the right way. And he's also just very passionate about developing other people, about pushing them to really reach their full potential. It's just impacted my life in so many ways. We're from Mexico, and he was the first one to move to the US with my sister, and made it possible for me to move here, and made it possible for me to get a GED and to go to college. I was homeschooled my whole life, and so I was encouraged to go to Motlow State because it might have been an easier transition from homeschooling. And I was going to do that, but then I remember just one conversation with Javier. He said, "Gabriela, I believe in you, and I know you can do it. I know that you can go to MTSU." So just with him believing in me, that really inspired me to apply to MTSU and be accepted. And thanks to him, I'm a Blue Raider. So I'm just so touched with how he has so much integrity and so much care, and just really does everything the right way, and inspires me to want to do that as well.
The most thing that impressed me about Javier is that he didn't only care about his immediate family, but also cared about the next generation that's gonna raise from his family, making sure like they get better opportunities here in the States.
The fact that he not only cared about his family, but also his co-workers, and went above and beyond for both family and co-workers, stood out to me.
So I took away from the project that there's a lot of people that deserve to be nominated for their leadership abilities, and a lot of people don't typically get the chance. So seeing a person like Javier, somebody that might not necessarily be a boss or a multi-millionaire guy, getting awarded for something like this shows me that anybody can make ethical decisions and be eventually rewarded for their choices.
Our class has selected Javier Elizalde Cuervo to receive the Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
He wants to say a few words.
Thank you. If my tablet works, because this is the story of my life with technology, it never works when you want it. Thank you so much. I feel honored and humbled by being the recipient of the Jill Austin Ethical Leadership Award. Students, you have started your career path here at MTSU, and under the guidance of Professor Clark and other faculty, you have learned about ethics in the workplace. Treasure it, practice it, demand it wherever you go next. Listen to your gut. Whenever you're making a decision, put yourself in the other's shoes. Paying special attention to any minorities around you, since the true strength of a team lies in its diversity. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope, Tom, that you are pleased with the addition to this week and all the things that are happened. It is an opportunity now. I would like to ask Clark to stand and be recognized, and all of her students are in the classroom. Are any of her students here and that were in the, come on, stand up. You were stars now. We gotta see you. All right. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Austin to come forward, and Javier, if you will come back in just a moment, let's have a picture made together. I think this would be fitting for our inaugural award. So where's our photographer? Just right there in the center. I couldn't see for the light. So let's just have a photo made. Proper lighting.
Yes, so we're all in the light.
So many thank yous for making this possible. The Boyds, could not do this without you. We appreciate you so much. Our speakers, Smith, that was just fantastic. Our professors, Drs. Moak, Cohen, and Clark, for bringing your students, for inviting your students to be a part of this. Students, I hope you just take away 2 or 3 small nuggets from today as what you've learned. Dr. Leigh Clark and her students for conceiving the idea of the Jill Austin Ethical Award. We must continue with that. I remember when she and Dr. Raffio came to my office and said, we want to do this. And I said, let's make it happen. Our guests who have traveled to be here, Javier came all the way from Kentucky to receive this award, so it's just not local. And Jill Austin, for your incredible impact on the Jones College. Thank you, Carolyn Tomlinson and Laura Cody, for your work in organizing, recruiting, planning, and making this event happen. Let's give all these people a big round of applause. A thank you to the MTSU Production Services for recording today. This video will be available on the Jones College YouTube and Facebook pages, so look for it. You may find yourself on the thing. And I thank you for your attention today. We are adjourned, but I would, if you want to come down, I'd like to have the class come down and have a picture made, please, and our winners and the boys, if you would stay with us, please, and say, let's come down and have some pictures made. Students, the rest of you are welcome to leave, but thank you so much for being a part of this wonderful day.